Well, the stabbing of Irina Zarutska has erupted in media finally, even though the Democrat media tried to cover it up, ignore it. It bubbled through. We, the people like you and I, went up to the president's desk, and now it's inspiring a movement, including some murals that I have been talking about. So welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Welcome to the Quad Club, to the people that watch 4 videos a day. I just cover the news. This is my happy place, and you guys make me happy, so thanks for watching. It cures my fragile, poor image. Here's our first news item. This is RNC senior advisor Danielle Lee Alvarez slams Roy Cooper, the guy who is has some responsibility for that North Carolina stabbing, as do all Democrat leadership in that flaccid leadership in that state.
The mainstream media, it took them 17 days before they paid attention to this story. Just about 30 seconds left, Danielle. Just want to get your take on what we've seen play out in North Carolina and this absolute tragedy.
17 days for the media to pay attention, 18 days for failed Governor Roy Cooper to make a comment about this. And by the way, it was embarrassing. He did not take accountability or responsibility for his soft on crime policies. It is why Donald Trump put out on Truth Social, wholly endorsing Michael Whatley for that U.S. Senate seat. This happened as a result.
We're going to get into Michael Whatley for that Senate seat because Trump is getting involved in politics. We're going to start pushing for this guy to get elected. Scott Jennings is on it. Trump is on it. We're going to get on this because if you don't change the leadership there, you're screwed. We're going to change the leadership
of national Democrats and Roy Cooper's soft on crime policies. He should be ashamed. It is horrific what happened to this young woman.
Roy Cooper just got caught with the hot potato. This is all Democrat policies. The catch and release of their criminals that they release over and over again, even felons after they take a mugshot. They have 14 felonies. They have aggravated assault, all in their records. Let them right back out on the street to stab your blonde daughters. By the way, the daughter, they're saying instead of shipping her back to Ukraine to be buried, her parents find so much love in America, they want her to be buried here where she is loved. I think that's very interesting. Even though she was stabbed here by evil, they also sense that we have their families back and we're praying for them and support them. Here's a quick one from Tom Cotton, because I'm going to go through all the political kind of outpouring of all this stuff, how it's large blue cities across the country that Democrats are standing with criminals. They have one side to stand on, the people or the criminals. They choose criminals over victims, and innocent Americans pay the price. They always stand with criminals, not the victims. In fact, Democrats blame the victims. What did this white girl do in running around being all white and pretty?
But let me remind everyone that Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott aren't the ones riding public transportation alone after a long day at work like Irina Zarutska. They aren't the ones clutching a bottle of pepper spray in their pocket as they wait for a bus to arrive at a stop on an empty street. They don't have to worry that their briefcase or purse will be ripped away from them as they walk to their car in a parking garage.
I thank Tom Cotton for that comment, but in Irina Zarutska's case, I have 2 daughters out there. I have 4 kids, but 2 of them are daughters out there in the wild, in public, and we want them to carry pepper spray. I want them to pack heat, if you know what I mean. And if you look carefully at the video footage of Irina being murdered by that thug, even if she was packing heat, she would have bought it. She would have been stabbed, okay? So everyone goes like, hey, always carry, always carry. Carry it helps in certain situations, but situational awareness is number one. And this is where you're gonna look bad, okay? This is gonna be a blonde girl who gets on public transport, and if there's a black guy with a hoodie and you're gonna sit alone, you don't sit in front of that guy, turn your back on him and start looking at your own cell phone. You need to put distance between yourself. And even if you're not going to make a racial distinction, which I think is racist, I think you should just go, you know what? I'm going to keep away from all people. I want, as a man, the father of my family, I never put my back to the front door. I always put so that I'm facing the door. If we go to a restaurant or something, I'm always making sure head's on a pivot. I'm looking around, eyes up, getting a good grasp of the room. You don't turn your back to a stranger who you don't know on public transportation. I don't care what race they are. I'm not trying to do racial profiling. I think it's kind of awful that so many good black people have to eat it because there's bad black criminals that target whites. Yeah, I said it. It's true. But it's kind of like, girls that I've met who've had really bad dating experience. Maybe they were attacked by a guy and they go, I'm not going to date anymore. I'm not going to get married. You're punishing all of the good ones, good guys, for what one bad guy did to you. See what I mean? That's why you don't project all of this hate and suspicion on all blacks because of what one black did. I do think you should be generally cautious and know that there are certain parts of black culture, and I'm talking about inner city black culture, that hate whites. They train their kids to hate whites. They hate cops. They love crime. They celebrate it. That's not all blacks. So I'm not going after skin color. I'm going after culture. There is a form of black culture that is resentful of whites and blame them for everything. That's culture. By the way, there's a small portion of white culture also that blames blacks and hates blacks and says we don't marry that genetic structure. It's disgusting. Here I am on Twitter. This is kind of cool. So there has been a campaign now on Twitter that Elon Musk funded for $1 million. They're raising money at $10,000 per mural to have a mural made of Irina in some of our Irina Zarutska in some of our cities. And they've already committed like millions and millions of dollars to paint. And of course, I'm a muralist. My first job I ever had was in 1989. I was a SeaWorld muralist. My murals have been seen by millions of people. That's how I first started when I first got married. I was a muralist. You guys remember my Lincoln? I'll show you the Lincoln painting here in a minute. I've been a muralist and a large-scale artist for over 35 years. I did the Lincoln on my own back wall in under an hour using a projector. Let me see if this an old video of mine. I'm going to turn
Lincoln the man.
How do I turn the volume?
Hello, gang.
Here we go. So this shows how I did it. I did a projector, and that's him. That's a photo from the Lincoln Memorial. And all I do is I project it on there. I get you'll see the house paint here. That's a jug of just one color house paint, monochrome. And I just go in and I paint the dark areas. Now, this is a really cheap, really bad mural. I only did it this way because it's inside my studio. You can see down there in the lower left, I'm putting in detail. There it is. Now, at the end here, that's it up close. You can see the dripping paint. One color and some dry brush scumbling to make a gray, but it's still dripping wet by the end of this picture. And there it is. That took me, I would guess, between a half hour and an hour to do. So I love the medium of large portrait art. It's something that I've done. It's part of being a mass media artist. Mass media means you communicate to masses. And I've done a lot of my thesis work on it, on is quantity a quality? I know it sounds weird, but I swear it's what I think about all day. Because I've succeeded making a TV show, Nickelodeon's Cat Scratch and Earthworm Jim. I succeeded in video games, making Earthworm Jim and the Neverhood, which went out to millions of people everywhere, including in the case of the Neverhood, it went all into Russia and China in their underground black market. It was their top pirated game of that year. I believe it was right around 1996. So it just penetrated through cultures, even if I don't make money on it. And money is secondary for me as an artwork. I make plenty of money, but it's just not, I just don't hold people hostage if they don't pay me. And then also YouTube, this channel where I get 350,000 views a day of you, I communicate to you. It's an art form where I perform, and my art medium, it's like a performance art, is talking politics. So yeah, I kind of get how masses, what they do say and think and what they enjoy. I've made 22 comic books. I've sold 10 of them into Hollywood for millions of dollars, the story rights, because Hollywood goes, hey, these would make great movies that millions of people would like, because I know how to tell a story that millions of people ought to like at least. So this is about enlarging measurements, and doing the painting isn't the hard work with murals. It's getting permission from the building owners in Nashville so you don't go to jail for 7 months for graffiti. But I know enough building owners around these major cities, including like Atlanta, Georgia, including San Diego, that I think if I could raise the funds, and it's just 10 grand per mural, I'd fly out there, put a crew together, and I think I could do about 10 murals in a month. That's my goal. 12 foot by 12 foot mural. And then here's my other concept is, because I'm mass media and it doesn't have to be a mural, you're thinking way inside the box if you're just thinking murals as a public statement. Thinking only within the genre of murals is small potatoes. If maximum penetration in public consciousness is desired, I've enclosed a single color sample image. It takes one color, a template for making a stencil because I've done spray paint art. Another use of funding would be to manufacture these die-cut stencils about cardboard stencils that I can distribute to you all. So a non-artist could just spray paint inside that stencil, and it would stain your shirt, or you could spray paint a wall or your beater car or your garage or a pair of old jeans, or you could even make a poster, spray paint it on a piece of paper, even butcher paper, and pin it up on the wall. So that it's not just muralists controlling the medium. You know how I am about censorship. I don't like the idea of a pipeline controlling anything. It's why I resent Hollywood and I love YouTube. YouTube doesn't tell me what to do, say, and think. Hollywood does. This distributes my stuff all around the world. So I like the idea of being able to mail out or have people hand make their own stencils and put out our own propaganda images of Irania. I've experienced managing mass media art projects from TV shows, comics, video games, and YouTube channels. Funding is wasted inside the box, my people. You really want to communicate in mass, then do it right, do it outside the box. I want to multiply a giant, the arena movement. I want a movement. You know what I mean? I want this thing mass funded. And we put out free stickers, get people to put them on their bumpers. This is the mural I propose. That'd be a painting style that I could do. This is the stencil idea. So this is one color. You cut that one color out of a piece of cardboard and then spray paint it. Anyone can do this, by the way. I do it 100 times. I show kids how to do this stuff. We used to take images out of the Cat in the Hat and cut a stencil out and spray paint them on T-shirts at punk rock concerts in the mid-'80s. This is how it used to be done if you couldn't afford silk screening and blah, 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 blah. This is a guy who's offering up his store. This gets around that licensing thing where I say, if you don't get a license or an agreement with someone who owns the property, you will go to jail for vandalism unless I did it anonymously and didn't put my name on it, which I'm fine with too. But that's trouble. Here's the guy, the building owner, saying he's ready for a muralist. This is his blank wall. I might just take him up on it.
So I love the arena mural idea, but I'm realizing the biggest issue is finding businesses that are willing to let somebody paint. Well, I
already like the way this guy thinks, okay? Everyone's going all romantic. Yay, get him, murals. No, this guy gets it. The limitation is getting access to walls. He owns this southern pawn shop, which we should all support out in...
And I have this big, beautiful wall here that's perfect for a mural. We get 25,000 cars a day across this road. So if you're a muralist and you want a place to paint this, I've got this for you. So guys, share this.
That's a 9.5 hour drive from Franklin. And I have, I always avoid travel, but I also embrace doing art for anybody, anywhere.
People in it, repost it. Let's find a muralist to come get one of these murals going so they can earn that 10K. And I ask other businesses to be bold and offer up your wall space for this artwork.
Yeah, we need people who own walls, and then we can hook you up with artists. Finding the artist is easy. Finding the wall legal wall is actually what's hard in this whole process. So let's check this out. This is a Give, Send, Go. I'm going to put this link in the description by one of those tech billionaires who said he would cough up $500,000 of his own money. He's raising $100,000. Look at this. It says they've already raised $54,000. This all goes to fund murals. I'm not involved with this campaign yet. I actually want people to privately pay me in crypto and I'll go do a mural. I think I could do 10 murals in a month, and each mural would take about 2 to 3 days. You got to wash the wall. You got to lay down a foundation. I got to do the giant blow up measurements and bring my projector and buy the paints and all that. But this is an exciting project for all of us. If you care about Irenia, and this is a communication, remember guys, this is a form of communication, propaganda, and marketing that shows that we care, that we don't want crime in our neighborhoods. And by the way, I hope this penetrates into the Black community. I hope Black artists pick up this image and start doing their own murals to show we're not going to defend this thug just because he's Black. We're not pro-crime. We're pro this girl, the victim. So I'm also calling out to Black artists everywhere to start painting this image in your communities, because no American wants this to happen to him. Here's that Egon McCabe. I am offering $500,000 in $10,000 grants. I'll take one of those, please, to paint murals of the face of Irina Zarutska in prominent U.S. city locations. I'm trying to get one here in Franklin. I could probably do one up in Nashville and maybe even out in Memphis. Please contact Katie Egan. I did send her an email. Please also share this message if you would like to contribute to this fund, please contact Katie. Also, here's JD Vance on the crime crippling us from in the cities. This is getting good now, guys.
What's your message tonight, Mr. Vice President, to Americans living in crime-ridden cities like Detroit, Milwaukee, Chicago, especially those in California? What hope can the administration provide them?
My message to the American people is we don't have to live like this. I think all of us, if we live near a city or we've just, gone downtown to take our family out for a meal on a Friday night, we've all had this experience where you pass somebody on the street who's obviously crazy, who's screaming and yelling at your kids. You cross to the other side of the street to avoid that person. Or maybe, God forbid, you've even been mugged at gunpoint. You've had your car jacked. You know a friend or somebody who's been victim of a violent crime. This happens, Matt, way too much in the United States of America. And the reason it happens is because of weak leadership, because we've allowed the criminals to take over the streets that ought by right belong to the American people. And
that's the main argument. It's our land. This land is my land. This land is your land. You shouldn't have to walk around terrified with your hand on a gun. The answer is not the Second Amendment, by the way. The answer is get your leaders to do their freaking job. Your daughter and wife should not be taking their life in their own hands if they walk out to a parking lot, to their car. My daughter works up in Nashville. I'm worried about her all the time. I'm going, I just want you to be as scared as I am. So you'll take a few precautions. Don't go to your car alone. Make sure you're in a well-lit area. Pack your heat. You know what I mean? Because your government is not doing its job. If government does its job, like Trump and JD Vance are proposing, tough on crime, get these bums off the street, throw them in prison, throw away the key. If it's a second offense, if you're a second violent offender, by the way, on average, they have 11 violent offenses before they actually murder someone. Murderers do not magically just appear. They have a long track record, all of them going before Democrat judges in Democrat-run cities and states. Here's Scott Jennings on that. Michael Whatley is running in South Carolina, and I love me some Chairman Michael Whatley.
My question for you is in North Carolina, you're on the ballot. This is going to be the biggest Senate race in the country. Are the people of the Tar Heel state awake to what these Democrat mayors, Democrat governors, what the left nationally is pushing? Are they awake to the consequences of the policies? I assume they are now because of what happened on that train. Is this going to be a central message of the Republican campaign next fall?
It absolutely is. I mean, the fact is that we need safe kids. We need safe communities. We need to be able to have areas in towns all across this country that are going to be safe.
That's a great campaign. Do your DAMN job. Guys, I can arm myself. It's not my job to reorient an entire community or make an entire state safe. That's the government's job, okay? I can take care of myself. I can't take care of an entire community, my state, the parking lot my daughter's going to walk across at night when she gets off work. You know what I mean? Do your freaking job. Step in and do something. I don't want to see another bridge named after all these candidates. I'm done with them. We're going to get more into Michael Whatley because I really like this guy. This is the guy that helped get Trump elected. He ran the Republican National Campaign with Laura Trump. And this is Trump's main pick, and so that's when he first came on my radar. Here he is from earlier. I'm excited to announce my campaign for the U.S. Senate to represent the great state of North Carolina. End murder in North Carolina. We're going to get this guy funded and elected. This is his July 21st announcement, guys. Big Republican, good guy. Here's a dude on Laura Ingraham. I actually disagree with this, but I'm going to play it because I like this sympathetic black gentleman's the sentiment.
If you look at what diversity, equity, and inclusion actually is, it's just a fancy way to say anti-white. And if things don't change and people keep getting kicked out of multicultural centers or stopped from getting jobs just because of their skin color, then white people are going to have to start their own civil rights movement because things have gotten...
Okay, wrong. First of all, it is true that DEI means anti-white. This is to foment blacks, to get minorities to hate white people, period. DEI. That's all it is. Marxism always weaponizes the races against each other. But what I disagree with them on is whites need to start their own civil rights movement. Wrong. The black civil rights movement is a fraud. It has brought the black community nothing. Then you'll get a bunch of white versions of Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson running around, just frauds. It's not a movement. It's your rights. In fact, the way that everyone overcomes race is by stop thinking about it. Okay, I'm not a white person. I'm a person. That guy's not a black person. He's a person. That's how you overcome it. Here's Pam Bondi. They're looking for the death penalty for the guy that murdered.
This progressive DA was not holding people accountable for crimes. You have to have consequences if you commit crimes. Yet 14 arrests. The guy had been to prison for firearm charges for a robbery, yet he was on the street.
Yeah, Democrats are anti-gun, but it's when it's one of their thugs getting busted for a gun, he gets a hand slap.
Should not have been on the street, Sean. That beautiful young woman would have been alive today. This has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with prosecution. And that's why my office has taken this case. We will not let a progressive DA get this case.
So it's not going to a Democrat state progressive on this case. It's going up for a federal crime. I believe it's endangerment on a public transit, and they're seeking the death penalty. Trump is demanding the death penalty. Here's more on that Whatley guy who I really like a lot on Newsmax.
Well, the president is absolutely spot on. And the fact is that this man should not have been on the streets. This man should absolutely not have been on that car. He should have been in jail. The man was arrested 14 different times. He was let out on the revolving door of the Democrat soft on crime policies.
This is what we got to run on. Democrat soft on crime policies. This guy should have been locked up for life. Here's Trump. I have seen, he writes on Twitter, the horrific video of a beautiful young Ukrainian refugee that he should be locked up. I'm going to skip down to the bottom here. North Carolina and every state needs law and order, and only Republicans will deliver it. Additionally, there is the outrage from the mainstream media on this horrible outrage. Where is the outrage from the mainstream media? Vote for Michael Whatley, says Trump. So see, Michael Whatley, you're going to see more of this guy. Wait, here's more from Trump. This is from yesterday. He's saying he wants pastors in North Carolina to run for office. Listen to this.
Hello to everyone at the North Carolina Nehemiah Pastor Summit, along with David and Cindy Lane and the American Renewal Project. Very exciting. Across the state, you have inspired dozens of faith leaders to run for office and to win elections, and they've been winning them in droves, including me. It is truly encouraging to see so many Americans of faith stepping forward to serve. As president, I have ended the radical left war on religious believers, and I stopped the Biden administration's persecution of Christians and pro-life activists. I created a presidential commission to protect religious liberty, and we established the Department of Justice Task Force to eradicate anti-Christian bias, of which, sadly, there's a lot, but we have pretty much put it to an end. We also restored the fundamental principle that God created two genders, male and female. Amen. And we're keeping men out of women's sports. Everybody knows that. It was a big reason I won.
Amen.
Not the biggest, perhaps, but it was a big reason. As we work to defend these achievements and expand our movement in the years to come, I will be cheering you on as you recruit 500 church members to run for office in 2026 and 2028.
500 church members to run. There's atheists in my office, in my audience, that are still mad at this. Like, keep your religion out of politics, separate politics, church and state. Where's the church? I don't keep bringing it up. Trump does. You're not MAGA is the problem. 500 people of faith he wants to run for office. Atheists need not apply. Sorry, guys. We're in a religious war here. We're tired of having the Marxist boot put on the Christian's neck. I love this idea. 500 people of faith. Run it. Take over that state from wicked, corrupt Marxists. We can do this, guys. So Trump, once again, the best friend of Christians. And for him being foul-mouthed, agree. Multiple affairs, multiple wives, I don't know. Is he crass? Is he crude? Yes, he is. But no one has done more for Christians and the church in America. It doesn't make him the most holy man, but he's the most used by God to help Christians in America. That's my theory on it. I'm Doug in Exile.